Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I just want to talk about some MGTOW subjects because I haven't been able to release new videos just yet. And a lot of these subjects related to MGTOW, come up. I have things to say about them. And I don't get the chance. I don't have the time. My situation isn't conducive towards it, and these ideas just fade away. And I don't think that's good. I think that people should express what's on their mind. I don't think that they should pitch a fit. I don't think that they should demand anything from other people, but I think that you should express yourself. I think it's actually healthy for you, and the idea of using online platforms to do that, it's an amazing thing that we have never been able to do inside of human history. You could never communicate across the world so easily as we can now. The opportunities that are available to us are amazing. Could your grandparents even imagine the ability to just have a handheld device and just talk to anywhere, get information from anywhere? No. So the opportunities that you have, are unprecedented in time, and you have to take advantage of them. So the idea of me just coming on here and going live and talking about MGTOW subjects, it's fine with me because I couldn't make the videos as I wanted to. Thanks to all of your generosity, I have I have the tools, the materials to do it with, but I haven't been able to work out quite the opportunity to do it. I've actually stepped back. Hey, MGTOW Smurf is here. Thanks for stopping by. Bob is here. How's it going, Bob? I see Bob. Here, this is a comment worth highlighting. Does it work? I see you, Bob, over on other podcasts. You know what I mean? Big, important podcasts. Like I saw you over on Terrence Pop, and you have the wrench and everything like that. So good on you. I know a lot of you. Mainly contribute and interact with the MGTOW channels. And that is a worthy thing to do. And I appreciate everybody's support over here at the Howard Dare channel. It's really been, very meaningful and important to me to be able to come back after being gone for, like 3 years and to speak on these subjects. A lot of it is older content, but that's cool because I don't think the message really got across. I may have to do this a couple more times, but it affords me this really excellent opportunity to, perhaps adjust the titles and adjust the thumbnails. And this is a really important aspect about what's going on here on YouTube. You could create the greatest video in the world, okay? But if it's got a rotten title and a rotten thumbnail, nobody's going to click on it, right? Now, you could create the worst video in the world. Well, let's not go that far, but you could create a pretty poor video. But if it's got a great title and a great thumbnail, it could go viral, who knows? However, that's not the biggest deal in the world either, right? So, since I wasn't able to get out the new content, I wanted to just come on here live and interact with you guys. Yeah, Bob says Howard. That is so cool. Volatile Smile says, a video on how to prepare to die alone as a MGTOW man with no family. Oh, yeah, I saw that on a stream probably about 4 weeks ago. One of the mid-sized channels, I believe. Maybe it was Chronic Undead Chronic or Sir Yeetus. There you go. Okay, memory at work. And that was the subject: how to die alone as a MGTOW. And I'll be honest with you, this is one of the few MGTOW subjects that even I, Howard Dare, shied away from. I was like, no, this is too depressing. You know what I mean? There's no reason to go thinking that far ahead, or at least in that capacity. A much better question is what to do with your life while you still have it. Not so. I mean, don't worry about it, right? Like you're dead. Don't worry about it. It's a great. It's the soldiers. Soldier's prayer or soldier's good luck charm, if you're dead, don't worry about it. There's nothing to worry about. And if you don't get moved to the front lines, you're probably not going to die. So don't worry about it. And if you do get moved to a place and you get injured and it's not fatal, don't worry about it. And if you don't get moved to a place where it's going to happen, don't worry about it. So it's this whole idea of stuff that we don't have to worry about. We really don't. But our legacy, is something that we need to be concerned with, simply for fulfilling our own calling. You know what I mean? Like, just a second here. Hold on a second. No, I'm good. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, even that was a depressing subject for me. You know, uh, Bob says, I'm a live stream proper garden tool. Yeah, well, you're there, man. You're there, and I appreciate that, and that is something to be done here within MGTOW. Gunsight One says, congratulations on 2K subscribers. Thank you, Gunsight One, and thank you for all your comments. Really smart, really intelligent, really helpful. I think it's helpful, to a lot of the guys who are out there leaving comments, and then, for somebody who has been here for a while and is more experienced, to respond to the comments. So I appreciate that, and one of the things that I would like to do is respond to my comments. I actually had a comment the other day. Some of the comments, they're really smart, they're really intelligent, they're really thoughtful. They represent entire, MGTOW videos. Hold on one sec. All right, I'm back. I think I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on, moving around outdoors. Uh, it's a hard life. It's a hard life, but it is what it is. I'm okay. Uh, where was I? Had to change locations there, ladies and gentlemen. Perhaps you'll be noticing different audio characteristics going on right here. Yeah, so I wanted to, touch bases with you guys because, like I said, um, releasing, the older videos. Uh, Still not set up, although I have the tools, thanks to your generosity, to do some things. I'm still not in an environment where I can do some things. So I'm back to the handheld device, to outdoors. Just so that I can touch bases with you guys, because it's important. MGTOW is not just, it matters, okay? You're right to care about, these subjects. It's very important, okay? We carry it with us, and this brings me to a subject, to something that I wanted to talk about to men. I suppose it applies to some women as well, but there's this, and this is where we get into the happy part of the podcast. There's this betrayal, okay? And it's quite terrible, and it really is like being stabbed in the back. And maybe it's just me, okay? But I've often felt that, I'm walking around in life and I've been stabbed in the back, and I really don't even know where and how, and I don't really know how to recover from it. And I'm thinking that maybe other men, other people feel this way too. And this is a real physical sensation, like, man, right in my lower back, like, damn, something's wrong. The strength isn't there that should be. And, I'll tell you straight up, physically, it's not, okay? The gluteus is the largest muscle in the human body. There's actually 3 parts of it. And when the muscles start to deteriorate, and they do start to deteriorate pretty damn early, usually by your late 20s, sometimes a lot earlier, But this is just like doing everything normal. They start to deteriorate. And of course, the first muscles to deteriorate the most are the glutes. And they're the biggest muscle in the human body for a good reason, too. This is why we walk upright. And, they start breaking down. But there's something even deeper going on here. It's a sense of betrayal. A sense of being stabbed in the back and kind of like just dragging yourself or myself through the motions of life, while fundamentally, on a basic foundational level, on the principle level, I know that the situation has been screwed and that we're just kind of spinning our wheels. And it's real. It's true. Okay. Like I said, this is the happy part. Imagine yourself in a real situation like that, okay? Perhaps an authoritative government, right? How would you feel, right? You would literally feel like you were stabbed in the back, right? And then, you combine this with the idea that the glutes are the first muscles to deteriorate. They are the most important muscles for the human being to walk upright, which is fundamental to, what we are, endurance hunters, why we can chase down prey for, 50 miles while it has to collapse, because we're upright and we can breathe and we can sweat. They can't. Every time they trot, their diaphragm comes slamming up into their lungs. So, and the only way for them to sweat is through their tongue. That's why they breathe. The animals breathe the way they do. So we are endurance hunters, and we can do this because we walk upright. And we can do this because we have these incredible muscles. And they're the first muscles to start to deteriorate later in life. And it's quite natural, and it's quite slow. But that's the pure physical aspect of it. It's real. You should do some basic glute exercises on a regular basis. And you should also notice that the girls doing TikTok videos with duck lips towards the cameras are sticking their butts out. Their butts are huge, okay? And the men are walking around, as if their tails are tucked between their legs. And they are. They are, okay? It's the truth. This is a psychological, emotional situation. Their tails are tucked between their legs. Their muscles are deteriorating. Psychologically and fundamentally, emotionally, socially, they have been betrayed on a basic fundamental level. And it's gone even deeper than that. Okay, it's not just that. If it was just that, you'd probably be able to deal with what's going on here. But you're not able to deal with what's going on here because it's deeper. Something else has happened. And I'm going to tell you what that is. Okay, I told you this is a happy part. This is going to be good news. Okay, this could potentially alleviate that entire sense of lifelong betrayal that men in Western civilization feel. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is what MGTOW is talking about. So, again, imagine you're in this authoritative state where that whatever gets done, it's all wasted because all the motivation of all the people is destroyed. You know what I mean? They're doing it because they're under duress, they're under threat, so they have to do it. So it's not a sustainable situation that you're building. You're just building something for a megalomaniac, who's in charge and has the reins of government. And how you would feel going through day to day, getting by day to day. How would you feel? And, as I suggested, as I feel like I've been stabbed in the back. I feel like I'm just putting on a front, putting on a mask, and just going through the motions. And here's the thing, you don't have to imagine it, okay? It's real. That's what's happened. Now, the means of control are not oh so blatant and obvious and explicit, okay? The force is not obvious. It's subtle, and it's in degrees. And the conformity is not absolute and abject defeat. It is a living death. It is acceptance. It is submission. It is cooperation. It is tacit cooperation. In other words, it's not cooperation. It's I will go along, is what it is. And of course, this is related to, your means of support, how you're going to get by in life. In other words, you're going to act the way we want you to act. You're going to have the attitudes that we want you to have, or you're not going to get paid. You're not going to get ahead in life. You're not going to be able to eat. You're not going to be able to have social interaction because you need it. Okay, this is a part of MGTOW, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here. We need social interaction. Okay, and it's not. And when I say we need it, I don't mean we'd like to have that and we're gluttons. I mean that it's healthy for the human brain. This is part of what intelligence comes from. The ability to interact with other people, to read the situation, to understand the situation, to move through the situation. Okay? And, of course, we in MGTOW, we could ascribe this more to a female, mindset, as opposed to a very practical kind of tool-oriented male mindset. Oh, did you guys check out my last video? Yeah, you should check that out. Evolved foraging. Female gatherers, male hunters. This is our distant past manifesting itself perfectly today. So it's an evolutionary trait. Men are hunters. Men, explorers. They go out. And the women, no, not so much. They gather. They figure out where the nice berry patches are, and they go and they look at all of them, and they pick out the ones that they like. So men really are seeking women, man seeking woman. They might as well be a caveman. But women, no. They're shopping, okay? They've set up a website with 1 million men on it, and they can read about all their characteristics. And they can feel if this one's hard or plump or firm. They can see which ones are colorful. They're shopping. Men are not shopping. Men are hunting. They'll take whatever's available. This is evolutionary biology. This is what we're dealing with to a large degree. You know what I mean? These traits, these characteristics that are just built into us, manifesting and being manipulated. Okay. Previous video. Check it out. YouTube is not heavily promoting my stuff. Like I said, I'm still in a conversation with the brains at YouTube. And what I mean by that is I'm still working with the algorithm. And it seems that it's actually going negative on me. You know what I mean? It's amazing. But it's another subject. So you're in this society. It's authoritative. It's denying basic fairness, equity, justice, decency, honesty, contracts. It's using force, but in subtle ways. And you have to go along with it and be one of its workers. Okay? How do you feel about it? Well, you feel resentful about it. That's how you feel about it. You kind of know it's a waste of time also. That the basic principles on which this thing is based they're not being honored. In the letter of the law, the social conventions, the social justice, is just something that's being made up to manipulate the group. So there you are. Here you are. Here you are. What do you do? Well, from a very, very early age, you know what I think you do? You know what I think the individual does? You know what I think I did? I played along. And not only did I play along, I told myself I didn't care. I said, oh, it's all about money? Okay, fine. I can do that too. I don't have to care about this stuff. You told me this was the important stuff? Equality, justice, fairness, contracts, free markets. You told me this was important stuff? And I kind of didn't believe you, but I went along. But now that I've looked at it, I've internalized it. And yeah, it is important stuff. That's important stuff. But do they honor it? Are they going along? Is your society around you going along with that? Or have they just stated that and used that as an excuse for social justice, for lynch mobs, for in-group bias, for catering to their own basic wants and needs? and using equality, justice, fairness as a shield, as a weapon. Because that's true also. None of this is like, oh my gosh, that's a revelation. No, it's not. This is exactly what happens. This is exactly what happened. The principles, the values, the foundation on which our free system is based, the people who claim that this is what they care about, they don't care about that. They care about profit. They care about money. They care about control. And here we are raised to believe in these things because they are virtuous, valid principles. They really are. They're the only way to order your world. Well, they're not the only way, but they're the right way to have a sustainable world where people have, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like to order it any other way would be sick. It would be wrong. It would be, anyway, yeah. So you've been taught these principles, you believe in these principles, but your civilization, your society, your culture, the people around you, they don't really care about these principles. They're just pretending to care about them. And so you, or the individual, or myself, has said, you know what? I don't care either. I don't care either. You don't care? I don't care. As a matter of fact, we'll see who cares less. We'll actually get in a competition to see who cares less, who can be more ruthless, who can be less concerned, who can be less constrained by principles and values. We'll compete. It's brutal. It's an open market. And all is fair in love and war. Now, in this environment, which is the actual environment you're in, you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with your ability or your quality. It just has to do with the numbers and the odds. And just, the random nature of interpersonal relations. Like you're going to wind up on the wrong side of a political situation from time to time. Just the way it is. Plus, of course, you always play the middle of the road. At which point you probably won't be able to, get much done. So now you're in a situation, the individual is in a situation where the basic principles and ideals and values and foundations on which all the interaction is based are just there for face value. You know them. Everybody knows them. But the truth is the only thing that anybody cares about is, their own self-interest. And this isn't a bad thing. This is not like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. It's like, no, that's quite normal. That's quite natural and healthy. But they care about it to the exclusion of, the other so-called principles and values, guiding cornerstones, the foundation on which all of this is based, which you have already decided, the individual has already decided is, can't really believe in it because if you do, you're at this huge disadvantage. And now you're playing the game. And it goes on for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years. And there you are. You've won some and you've lost some. It's all a front. That all these things that these people are saying, that they care about, it's just virtue signaling. What they really care about is their own interests. And not just care about it, they care about it to the exclusion of those principles. So the act of them virtue signaling becomes disgusting. It becomes obscene. Because it's false. It's disingenuous. But you play along. And like I said, you play along for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And there you are. And you feel like you've been betrayed and stabbed in the back. And indeed, the situation, that justifiably so. But who have you been betrayed by? Have you been betrayed by the system? That would be like saying you've been betrayed by a storm on the sea. Storms come onto the sea. That would be like saying you were betrayed by a lion in the jungle. That would be like saying you were betrayed by a snake in the grass. Snake in the grass didn't betray you. That's just what it is. It's a snake in the grass. You, well, wandered into the grass or whatever, and there was a snake in the grass. It wasn't personal. So were you betrayed by the system? Were you betrayed by the storm that came upon you on the ocean? Were you betrayed by the snake in the grass? Did he promise you one thing and then deliver another thing? No, he didn't. He's just a thing. So who betrayed who? Right? Is that a song? Is that a cartoon? Who betrayed who? Did the people around you that are paying lip service to a set of principles and ideals that could guide their lives and guide their civilization by not being true to them, by subverting them, did they betray you? By stating that they believed in them, when in fact they really only believed in their own profit and their own gain. Did they betray you? They're hypocrites, they're bigots. I don't know if they're bigots, they're hypocrites. But did they betray you? No, they didn't, did they? Is it unfortunate that you live in a system that represents a particular set of ideals, but then can't put them into practice? Not only that, goes out of its way to not put them into practice, to subvert them. That's a bit of a betrayal. Like the system is supposedly set up on these, ideas, and it's not really. So I think you kind of understand what I'm getting at, right? The person who betrayed you was you. I'm sorry. Was me. The ideals that all of this is based on, they actually matter to me. I don't mean to be a sap. I really don't. But the idea of treating people fairly, it actually matters to me. Like if you come to me and you say, hey, there's this great injustice on the other side of the world, I'll be like, that is unfortunate. I wish there wasn't this great injustice on the other side of the world. I actually feel that. Then I, continue eating my pizza or hamburger. Excuse me. But I know that the system around me doesn't really feel that. Oh, they might set up a charity for it. They very well might. They probably will. So it hurts to admit, that I care about these ideas. It hurts to be in a position where other people can use these ideas to manipulate me because I care about these ideas. And I care about these principles and these values and this foundation. Because I know that individually, it's the only way for me to move forward. And I know that the people around me don't care about it. And they don't even care about it for themselves. They care about their immediate profit, their immediate gain right now. So much so that the ideas and the principles are false to them. They're just window dressing. But to me, that's not the case. To me, they're real. But I go around pretending as if they're not real. So who has betrayed me? I have betrayed me. I have taken something that I find to be important and valuable and worthy and worth my own sacrifice for. This is within my own life, not, going to go to war. and I pretend that it's just a bunch of bullshit. Even, this is going to get me in a lot of trouble. Even a lot of the basic ideals of feminism, okay? Equality of the sexes, being treated fairly, before the law. I believe in these things. These are not, this is not like, oh, that's a bunch of bullshit. No, 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 no. Yeah, equal pay for equal work. Yeah, absolutely. I genuinely care about these things because that'll serve me just fine. And it'll serve anybody else just fine. So I think that's where the betrayal lies, okay, within the self. By pretending to go along with a world that, doesn't have any values, or is just pretending to have values, and then we pretend to not have those values either, but we do. And this isn't just male, female. I'm sure there's plenty of women, who feel this as well. And this is quite natural. When you are not true to yourself, the response is a feeling of guilt, shame. And like I said, this is the happy time at the Howard Dare channel. So internal guilt and shame. So the fact that the world isn't perfect, it isn't what you want it to be, it isn't what it should be, that is what it is. But the fact that you went along and pretended, and I'm not saying you did individually, I'm saying that, the fact that people, individuals, myself included, go along and pretend that we don't care either, and we forget that, no, we actually did care. That's the real betrayal. Now, it's still a stark situation, It's actually coming, to that realization that, okay, I'm here in a system that is just pretending. It's bullshit. And I know that we're just going through the motions in a lot of this stuff. And I'm supposed to be here going through it as well. And here's my attitude about that. Right? It's hard to have a good attitude in that situation. But like I said, the good news is, remember, that you do actually care. And reignite that spark, rekindle that fire and get that fire going. You don't have to involve other people, in your projects and the things you're doing, whatever, fixing up a backyard, repairing bikes, I don't know, repairing old computers, I don't know, donating them, whatever. It doesn't have to be dependent upon other people. It's like, hey man, can you, give me this so that I can do this other thing? It's like, no. You can just do something. You can just do stuff that you care about. I'm not like saying, you have to donate computers to the public welfare. I'm not saying that. How about, you build new ones, you repair old ones and you sell them on eBay, and you make yourself an extra, couple $100 a week. Not bad, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I offend you? Are you not one of those people who could use an extra couple $100 a week? Oh, my apologies. Well, don't forget to donate to the Howard Dare channel so that I can, still address, and work around in the muck. I'm sure that you can find out PayPal donation link on one of my other videos. I don't have one up here. I don't really bother to put them up so much, right? I'm not trying to pester people or anything like that. Truth is, though, is that there's really no sustainable model here to sustain something like the Howard Dare channel. It's not too bad. But if you're doing something, this leads into another subject, the idea of MGTOW and money. If you're doing something and you're doing it, like 6-8 hours a day, and it can't sustain itself, well, maybe you're in a position where, you can afford to do that. Okay, good for you. It's what you care about. It's what you want to do. Nothing wrong with that. That's good, actually. But no, when you start to do things, at a fairly committed level, they kind of need to be able to sustain themselves. Like I said, I don't care how much money you've got. I don't care if you've got $1 billion in the background. look, there's a lot of news organizations, there's a lot of media organizations in this world right now that pump the stuff out, okay? News stories, videos, everything like that. And they do not make a profit, okay? They are just interested in influencing public opinion. Yes, the Russian government actually does have that, okay? They actually have a division of their government that goes around and, yes, infiltrates social networks and creates fake news shit. Yeah, they do that. And they're pretty good at it too, you know? And when I say pretty good, I mean really, really good at it. Does it have the impact, that our media pretends that it has? No, it doesn't. You're talking about, 0.001%. And you're not even necessarily talking about people being influenced, because these people could have already felt that way. So there's all kinds of detailed variables that go into the whole SEO of, this type of a situation, but it's out there and it's real. Okay, so yeah, MGTOW and money in general. So once you start to seriously do something where, you're giving it 6, 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 16 hours a day, even if you could bankroll it, it needs to be sustainable, right? It needs to be able to take care of itself. We're not trying to build systems. You're not trying to build a system that produces 1 unit of fuel at the cost of 3 units of materials, okay? Because that means you just lost 2 units of material. So you're not setting things up that way. Now, a kind of government operation, a kind of idealistic, younger kind of mindset to the whole thing, like a startup kind of mindset to a thing. Yeah, you can do that, and it may work out. If it's government backed, it doesn't matter if it works out, does it? Isn't that an irritating aspect about government money? You know what I mean? Like, even if the project is a complete flop, they can still vote to give it more money, right? So it's like the wrong people are voting on, how to deal with this situation. Right, it's like a bunch of incompetence at your company, wasting $1 million, and then you saying, okay, well, who should vote on what we should do now? It's like, well, let's get those incompetents who wasted $1 million. Let's get them to decide. And it's like, gee, they're going to decide to give another $1 million, right? So it's like, well, there's a surprise. So of course, our government acts in this selfish, self-serving manner, right? Like, any sort of bill that they're trying to get through could take years to get through, but if it's a vote on whether or not they're going to get a raise, it's going to go through within a week or so. It's not going to take long at all. So, what does this tell you about all the bickering, that's going on concerning that bill that actually concerns your welfare? What does that tell you? That tells you that they're holding it up, is what it tells you. And of course, you know this, but the idea of knowing something and then stating it explicitly and kind of accepting it within your own mind, different things. And earlier I was hoping that by stating that the betrayal is within the individual themselves, they've betrayed their own principles. Okay, they had to. I understand that. I get that. But then they forgot that they betrayed their own principles, and it sucks that they had to betray their own principles. It isn't right. It isn't fair. It isn't good. Okay, but theory and practice, right? In theory, it's wrong. In practice, it's like, well, this is exactly what happens. But then, of course, they forget that, no, these values actually were important to them, and they're walking around day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, pretending that these things don't matter to them when, yeah, these were important things. So I think that, as harsh as that understanding is, that realization, it's myself who's betrayed myself, can lift some of the burden of that. At least, that's what I'm hoping for. So, yeah, things that you do, okay, whether they be business enterprises, volunteer work, anything, it has to be sustainable. It has to be self-fulfilling. Why would you build something that isn't? Why would you spend 3 units of materials to get 1 unit of fuel? Now, if you had hundreds of units of materials and 0 fuel, yeah, of course, you would do it then. Right? You would use up some of that excess material to build some, very necessary and needed fuel for the moment. But would that be your regular basis? Would that be how you set it up? No, of course not. And if it is, then grow up, step up, come into the real world, right? Come into a world where, you have limited resources and limited ability. And I'm glad that, you're in that other world and that mindset. But, it's a little bit more demanding than that. Just because you can get a perfect score in the simulation doesn't mean you can actually fly the plane. And just because the autopilot will do all the work doesn't mean that, it's okay that you're the one sitting there in the pilot seat, because something could go wrong with the autopilot. And, this, of course, brings us, to the further idea of money itself. Money is a placeholder. Money is the means by which honest, fair people can exchange goods. Otherwise, we would have to barter. And, of course, that doesn't work because it's, the late part of spring and, it's late summer, and the farmer has a whole bunch of, crops, and, the rancher, has a whole bunch of cows. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a secondary means of exchange so that every arrangement, wasn't this, what do you need right now? What do I need right now? And it was a holding card so that, that value that was exchanged, cows for produce, could actually hold its value. And the answer is, of course. That a barbarian civilization, one of the requirements for a barbarian civilization is that they have money and that they exchange money, right? And this, of course, leads to the idea of a free market, right? And the idea of not using force on people, not taking their money. It's an exchange. It's an open, fair exchange. And this is a sustainable principle. And when I say sustainable, I mean that it's actually good, and to move forward with it would be a good idea. Not that, we can automatically do this, no problem. No, because you're going to have bad actors, right? But the principle of it, it's motivated self-interest. It works. It's freedom. I often have this question, the idea of like speaking in front of a group or, to a smaller group of people. And it's like, well, what are you going to talk about? And for me, and I know this is probably boring as hell for you guys, it always comes down to the same kind of subjects. You know what I mean? It always comes down to how to live a meaningful, purposeful, valued, life of value. That's what it all comes down to. If you can have that, if you can do that, well, you'll overcome all the other stuff. If you can't do that, I don't really care what they've given you, what you have. It's kind of an empty, sad existence, right? Of course, I'm thinking about like a multi-billionaire, right? Having betrayed his principles, is he happy? Well, maybe he is for now. Maybe he is for now. But as he betrayed his principles, chances are he'll betray additional principles. And chances are some of these principles are going to be fundamental principles that are necessary for, sustaining the self, right? Like people, you just give them a whole bunch of money and they destroy themselves, right? Is it Russell Crowe on like America's Got Talent? He's very rich. He's very well off. Private jets, stuff like that. This is from some years back. And he's 50 plus. And they asked him, what would happen if you'd have had this success in your 30s? And he said, I would have killed myself. It would have destroyed me. So having everything you want is not, it's not a guarantee of a bright future. Being worthy of everything that you have is a pretty good guarantee of a bright future. And if you're playing the odds. So do not strive to have everything you want and have everything perfect in the world for the way you want it. No, strive to be strong enough to be able to deal with not having what you want. Be strong enough to be able to get by in the world not having what you want. And be strong enough, hope to be strong enough to deal with whatever situation comes your way. And if you want to go even further than that, have an attitude of gratitude. Be grateful for what comes your way. I'm reminded of a nightmare I had at one point in life. And there was a terrible werewolf. I've mentioned this before, going around and just doing that werewolf thing, ripping people up around town. And they finally, came to me. I must have been like the sheriff or something, right? I must have recently had watched the Robert Rodriguez, one of my favorite zombie movies. Shit, I've lost my comments section. All right, we'll scroll down this way. Where the hell was I? Let's see what's going on. Ooh, this looks good. I'm looking at comments. Let's put that on screen so that I can read it. Got to get out of the glare of the sun, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is better. Why aren't my comments coming up on screen? Where was I? Oh, yeah, the werewolf. Yeah, they finally come to me and they say, there's this horrible, vicious werewolf, in town going around and killing people. And yeah, we need you to come out and deal with it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. Let me get a big stick. I feel sorry for that stupid animal. There was no fear or anything like that. It was like, it's like, oh, I feel sorry for the animal. Gee, I should have, gotten involved before other people got hurt. It was just, that kind of a decision. That's a good feeling. No fear. Anyway, not sure why I brought that up. Let's see. What feminazis fail to realize is they are comprised and compromised America. Sad part is that's what they wanted. They have zero respect for us men. Well, this is basically true. It really is postmodernism. There's smarter people who can analyze this stuff, and who understand the sociology of it better than I do. But I'm the one who's here. Right, so you're stuck with, what you're stuck with. Yeah, this actually ties in, to what I was talking. These principles that we actually do care about as good men, that we have betrayed to go along with a system that does not actually care about them, although it states that it does. These principles were undercut and betrayed, in the late 1950s, in the early 60s. And yeah, feminism is a whole part of that whole postmodernistic subjective mindset, which, is what tore this apart. Because these values, they're not subjective, they're objective. And we live in, this objective world. And yes, people need to be treated fairly with dignity and respect and fairness in order for them to feel motivated. And it is the way to build the future. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't predicate the system on anything other than that. And if you did so, then you are a tyrant, and you don't respect human beings at all. So, and of course, secretly, that's, of course, how many people are. But, they can't live that way. One thing that I've always found interesting is the idea of, when somebody, it's like, well, if you didn't believe in God, what's stopping you from doing all this terrible, horrible stuff? And, the answer, of course, is I don't want to do that stuff to begin with. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting here saying, oh, if only there wasn't, some omnipresent, omnipotent power in the sky watching me, gee, the stuff I would do. No, I would not do that stuff. So that's not what's governing my behavior. And while this might seem like, a rather abstract subject, it's not. This is exactly, what we're talking about, which brings me to, another subject. Where have we come up short, as a civilization, as a society? And the answer is, of course, in our public thinking, in our mind, in our philosophy. We have sold it out. We have betrayed that principle for entertainment, for numbers, for media attention, your YouTube videos, your social media videos, they're based on popularity. They're based on likes. They're not based on value. They're not based on truth. They're not based on agreement. They're based on, entertainment, likes, value. So a big famous movie star farting, in a very embarrassing public situation is going to get a lot more views than, the cure for a disease, or for the solving of some terrible social ill that's been in place for a long time, or some new theory explaining and understanding some fundamental problem that we solved. No, the pretty girl farting, that's what's going to get the views and the attention. So that's what we're promoting, right? So, right, it is like an idiocracy future based on the choices that we're making. So the failure is on this exact level, okay? We have failed to have the proper mindset, the proper philosophy, the proper respect for the proper principles. We have decided, oh, no, they're not worth anything. What's important is getting ahead and getting money and being popular and getting more views. That's what's important. And I understand why we pretend that, because we live in a world that's what it's doing. So you have to. But is it the truth? Do you really not care? And if you really don't care, I suppose you should feel great about all of this. But I suspect that you do care, and you don't feel great about this. That on some basic fundamental level, you're like, man, this is screwed up. I feel betrayed in this whole situation. Well, I think this is the reason why. So now I'm stuck being, the idiot sap who actually cares about these ideals and principles and, foundational ideas in a world where people are just paying it lip service. Where I was paying it lip service because I said I didn't care, but I do care. Yeah, we feel what we feel, okay? We don't have to be stuck in what we feel. We don't have to stay there in what we feel, but we feel what we feel. So, you can be the strongest man in the world, the toughest, you can be the heavyweight champ of the world, but if you come around a corner and somebody says boo when you didn't expect it, you were scared. For that single moment, you were scared. I'm reminded of, the little cat that the couple, two guys, bring around to, various situations and film it and do the YouTube videos where they bring it to, the giant tiger cage, and the giant tiger, 1,200 pounds, is, stalking on the other side of the plexiglass wall, and the little kitten is there in the guy's hand, and the little kitten hisses at the tiger. And the big tiger is like, whoa, shit, and jumps back a little bit, So in that moment, you feel what you feel. You're in a situation, you're in a society, in a civilization that pretends to honor these noble ideals that are worthy of being sustainable. They're worthy of fighting for because they're good, they're fair. But civilization, society, organization, group, gang doesn't really believe in those principles. They actually believe in making money and becoming popular and getting what they want. And they will throw those principles and ideals, even when it means, you lose your job, to the wind for pretty much almost anything, even for, the approval of a pretty girl. She can upset things, even more so. And it isn't right. And it's bullshit. And it really is letting the inmates run the asylum. But it is what it is. So yeah, you're in a madhouse. And the inmates have control. And you've got to play along. And they have completely betrayed all of the principles, the foundation, the very things that you were raised to believe are fundamentally worth dying for. And you have to pretend that you don't care either. And in some ways you do, and in some ways you don't. Some ways it's worked, some ways it hasn't. And in the ways that it hasn't, that you can't admit to yourself, that's the degree to which you are stabbed in the back. And you've done it to yourself. So that's what I've been trying to say, right? And that's what I felt was important to say. And I don't mean you individually. Your situation can be totally different. I'm just saying, for myself and what I think might be a lot of other people out there, this seems to be the truth of the situation. Right? Some of you are saying, yeah, welcome to the party, Howard. Yeah, read Revelations. That's so funny, right? The idea that no matter what you come up with, somebody else has already, been there and be like, yeah, well, we've been waiting for you. So what do we do? What do we do? And it's really hard to escape your own conditioning. Like, you don't know that you don't know. You only know what you know. And that's only what you've been taught. So even when we're reacting with, indignation and righteous indignation, it's perfectly possible that this was implanted, So it's important to be able to analyze and break these things down. And of course, this goes back to my old friend Aristotle, the unexamined life is not worth living, right? So, yeah, happy times here at the Howard Dare channel, right? This is just like watching a TikTok video of girls swallowing large pieces of fruit and vegetables. Right? That's what's popular. There you go. Oh, yeah, I was mentioning earlier, there was a comment on one of my videos, and it was clearly, a woman who doesn't watch MGTOW videos, who just somehow been enticed, over to it, right? Like, I'm working really hard on ranking #1 on the feminist hashtag. So she says, I pay just as much taxes as men. You should point that out and, stop with all, this extemporaneous, narrative, whatever. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but, that was what she was saying. And many years ago, I would have responded to that comment, for one, because, it's not a normal viewer. And it's like, hey, I'm making inroads into the feminist community. So that's interesting, right? It's like, hey, welcome. Bring all your feminist friends. But I didn't have the heart, to unload, to go into it, right? Or even to talk about it up here, right? And it's perfect. Well, okay, a little bit, right? It's perfectly possible that she individually does pay as many taxes as a man. That's possible. But it doesn't negate the fact that the majority, it's not the case at all. And that the majority of the services of the government go to the women. And it doesn't even take into account, and this is the real kicker, this is the real killer, and this is the one that most people won't even see. It doesn't even take into account the opportunity lost. What could have been done with that money, what should have been done with that money to keep it consistent with the ideals and principles on which we are based, okay? Those ideals, those concerns were thrown away, right? So we didn't build schools. We didn't build community centers. We didn't build hospitals. We didn't build self-care facilities. We didn't build any of the things that we needed to build to make our future better. No, we built things to help the women and the children. Okay, fine. But have we gone too far? And the answer is yeah, we have. We've gone too far. The pursuit of happiness, not the guarantee of happiness. We're here about giving people a fair chance, not about giving them a free ride. So, yeah, it's a completely unequal distribution of government resources. And when they mess up, it's the people who messed up voting on what to do to correct the mess up. And their voting always is to cover it up. So, how's that for justice? How's that for fairness? How does that sit with you as far as, these ideals and principles go? And the answer is it sucks. It doesn't sit with you. It can't. Or, the individual. What are you going to do about it? Nothing, effectively. So what are you going to tell yourself? You're going to tell yourself you don't care. But just like that giant tiger in the cage, just like Mike Tyson coming around a corner, you feel what you feel. You do care. It upsets you. It's wrong. That's the situation. And, I was suggesting that if you tell yourself you really don't care, and then you forget that, like you convince yourself that you really don't care, which is not hard to do, that this is the fundamental betrayal. That better to sit with the righteous indignation of these people who are pretending to care and represent me. They don't care. They don't represent me. They represent their own interests. And this genuinely, upsets me. And there's really not a whole lot I can do about it for now. Well, that's one feeling. And the other feeling is, oh, they don't care? Well, then I don't care either. As a matter of fact, I care 10 times less than they do. Let's see how this turns out. And of course, the way that it turns out is that they get what they want, disrespecting your principles, and nothing as a result happens. And it actually gets worse. Tough choice, isn't it? Isn't it? It would be very hard to choose to be true to yourself and to suffer the self-indignity of, having a situation that you find unfair existing, where you really can't do anything about it. And that would not be easy. Yet it is what it is. Or you could delude yourself. You could say you don't care. When that little kitten, hissed at the giant tiger, and the giant tiger was like, oh shit. It could say, no. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that at all. But it did. And when Mike Tyson's heart is racing because little kid jumped up from around the corner and said, boo, and he didn't expect it, he can say, no, my heart wasn't racing. I didn't really feel that. Then who betrays who? Who's not being true to themselves? Who has stabbed themselves in the back by denying exactly what they are? As hard as that might be. So that those are my thoughts on that, okay? Money is a good thing, right? Barbarians have money. You have to have money so that free people can exchange value, right? This isn't an also advanced or tricky concept, all right? We can't always trade cows for produce. We can't always trade cows for chickens. But we can always exchange the monetary value that we've associated with those cows or chickens for the placeholder of money. We can always do that, and it holds its value. So the crops, which are only good, in late summer, boom, now they hold their value. You sell them, boom, you've got the money. This is a great thing. This allows for motivated self-interest. So these ideas that guys come up with, and even here in MGTOW, it's like, oh no, he shouldn't be making money. It's like, yeah, you should always be making money, guy. You should always be hustling. You should always have something going. Exactly. And some days, you're going to wake up and you're going to have your 5 or 6 things that you've got going, that you've got hustling, and they're all going to be breaking down. And you're going to be running around all day, all night, just trying to get those plates spinning up on those sticks. It is what it is. And as a man in a blue-pilled world, there is no time for you to not do that. You know what I mean? You can't not do that. Even as a MGTOW man, well, you have to pretty much do that. Got to have your money coming in. Got to have your bills covered. You've got to, one way or another, you've got to do it. So this idea that, you should be able to do things, with your time that don't profit you, that don't sustain themselves, that are, a net loss. And you should just be able to indulge that. It's like, what are you kidding? Maybe when I was 16 years old, I could do that for a little while, but even then I couldn't do it. So stop hating on money. Stop hating. See, this goes back. We have failed in the philosophy and the mindset of the adherence and loyalty to the principles and the ideals on which we are based and founded. These ideals were still intact through the late 1950s, through the mid-1950s. But postmodernism and feminism reared its ugly head. And you're right, these people, they don't care about the future. They don't care about a sustainable future. They don't care about principles and ideals. They care about breaking the system as it is right now, because it's unjust to them. Anything would be better than this. How dare they? And of course, they're pretending that they do care about the system and the people. And you know that they don't. And you do. And we have failed from an educational, from a media, from an information point of view of maintaining and communicating these principles. And one fundamental basic aspect of these principles is making money. Is you having your own self-interest. It doesn't even have to be making money. Let's say you want to be an artist, and it's like, well, you can perform at this great club with this great audience, but they're not going to pay you anything, and you're still up and coming. Okay, that's a great deal. Your interests, exposure. Each individual working for their own self-interests, not denying, the values and the principles. This is the foundation of America. This is the foundation of progress. This is the foundation. This is the engine of humanity. People wanting to better their situation. And when you badmouth money, you're badmouthing that idea and that principle. And that idea and that principle is part of what we have failed to enshrine because of what happened with the postmodernists and the feminists. And even the socialists and the communists back in the late 1950s. It was destroyed. It was attacked. It was attacked in Vietnam through the media. In other words, our motivation, is it about freedom? Is it about principle? Is it about individual rights? No, it's about imperialization. It's about conquering. Okay? And feminism. Because then this, basic attitude of, completely rejecting the system, went over into gender dynamics. Now, should it have not done that? Should it have remained as it was? Should we still be in a 1950s Fallout world? Probably not. Okay? But those ideals and those principles of free markets, of motivated self-interest, of individual responsibility, of America and other free nations having these ideals and these principles that are worthy of being enshrined and enacted around the world. It's the same idea that we're dealing with right now. It's the same idea of you having principles, the individual having principles that the world around them is just paying lip service to, and that now they are just paying lip service to, but deep down, fundamentally, they really did care about it. It's the same issue. It's the same thing. These were fundamental, core, worthy, virtuous principles that are profitable and sustainable, but not like they're going to work on their own automatically. No, like if you can enact them and if you can, get them going, that this will create a really decent future. So those ideals and those principles were overcome with media, with foreign influence, perhaps with just our growing up. And now we don't really believe in those principles, but we pretend that we do. And the world around us pretends that it does. No, the businessman, the contractor, the kid making up a lemonade stand, this is a great and noble thing. The person starting up a YouTube channel, okay, this is a great and noble thing that really encapsulates one of our highest ideals and principles, and we treat it like it's garbage. And I suggest that this is because of this postmodernistic, late 1950s, early 1960s undercutting of our philosophical values. Now, it's also true that all of these ideas and principles are subject to individual instinct. In other words, if you can find a way to motivate, people's individual instincts, you can pretty much overcome these, higher set of ideals and principles. It is kind of like a Maslow's hierarchy of, needs, but in a kind of, wow, we can get them to drop, this higher noble ideal in favor of the fact that they need food. Okay? And if you don't think that the idea of social exclusion has been used against men, and that this is part of what MGTOW is about, then you're not seeing a big enough picture here, because it has been used. Okay, in other words, you go along with us. I'm with her. This is what a feminist looks like. Me Too hashtag. Either you go along with us, or you're excluded from the group. You're a misogynist pig. You're as bad as it gets. That's a powerful tool. You understand, for a child, that's the same as abandonment. That's the same as you're going to die in a day because there's no food, there's no shelter, there's no adult looking after you. So it triggers that. Okay, yeah, we've got some yard work going on nearby. I'm sorry about that. Nothing I can do about it. Okay, so like I said, I just wanted to come on here and touch base with you guys because I know I haven't been getting out any fresh content. I don't really care about the quality. I can't care so much about the quality. I'm back to my outdoor handheld, low quality microphone. I hope it's okay. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Let me know what you guys think about these subjects in the comment section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. I need your support. I'm asking for your help, guys. You know what I mean? Find my PayPal donation link, click on it, donate a few dollars if you can do it. I would appreciate it, and I'll put it to use helping men, creating more content that makes a positive impact in the world. If you can do it, if you're in that situation, please do so. And if you knew what my situation was, well, you would be even more inclined to do so. I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to come on more like this. I'm sorry, guys. It is what it is. As long as I get out here. Anything you guys want to say before I close this one out? It's good to be outside. Spring is back. Yeah, I don't like that cold weather. Did Howard mention battle chickens? No, man, that sounds worth it, though. Damn, is there a video on that? We got to get that. Yeah, there's no reason. Influence can be currency. That's a good one. I like that. Feminism makes women dumber. Focus on your success. It won't leave you. Yeah, exactly, right? Your job loves you. It'll be there for you. It'll take care of you. I want to be one of the really knowledgeable content creators to explain that. No one has broken that part down. Why do the paint? Okay. Yeah, very noble. Very noble there. I appreciate that. No caps lock, please. Hard to read. Okay, but oh yeah, there it is. Hi, Howard, bro. Why do they lie to dudes about female nature? I found out the hard way that women aren't who they tell us they are. What's the point, though? Why do they lie about it? Well, because they're ashamed about it, Jojo. Because they are paying lip service to these ideals of principle of fairness and equality. And they have to pretend that, they're right there with, virtue. But they're not. And of course, that's what makes us so upset. That's why it's so frustrating. And there's nothing wrong with caring about, the truth. I mean, this is kind of what you need to do. So I am going to leave it at that for now. Let me know what you guys think about all this stuff in the comment sections. Like, share, comment, subscribe on the videos. Donate to the Howard Dare channel. I'll try to come back and do more of this. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I just would have kept going, man. But for that fucking noise, yes, end the broadcast.